Welcome to episode 6 of the Integrated Performance Podcast. Today, I have a special guest with me, my friend, colleague, Melanie Sliwka. We're going to say that with some little bit of accent too. Sliwka. Is that good? I say it right? That's awesome. So Melanie and I go back a few years. She is an incredible human being. She has spent 13 years working with special op candidates, elite athletes, even just regular people, working for SEALFIT, Unbeatable Mind. She is a nutritionist, and she is the author of the book, 6 Weeks to Cleaner Eating. And we are just, and one more thing, I didn't want to leave this out. We talked about it before we started the conversation here, is she is a world record holder in a team burpee challenge. 6 people got together and did burpees for 24 hours. How many burpees did you do, by the way?
5,326.
Individually, you did 5,000 burpees.
That's right.
Okay, so the whole team did like 35,000. What was it?
Oh yeah, 5 times. Yeah, it's 5 times that.
Yeah. So it was an incredible challenge, and it was for good. It was for veterans, right? It was a veteran.
That's right. The Courage Foundation.
Foundation. So excellent. That's excellent. So excited to have you here as somebody who has supported us in the writing of integrated performance, of understanding it from a nutritional level. So we're going to have a conversation about nutrition, but before we go down that path of kind of how does this work into human potential, into human performance, into becoming a better version of ourselves and making sure that we have these building blocks in our lives to understanding nutrition, I want to hear from you. Like, what got you to where you are today? What got you to a place where you are working with special op candidates, where you're so passionate about helping people, to transform their physical world, so therefore they're able to transform their lives, I'm assuming, right? There's a level of just making people better to better their lives. So what is it, Melanie, that got you to where you are?
I was in search of my own transformation, to be honest. That's a lot of the time where we start from when we're in this industry. I didn't know that, though. The funny thing is that I was coming out of it, divorce and some trying times for myself. I ended up working for another Navy SEAL prior to Mark Divine and Unbeatable. They sent me to Mark to start to train because I was selling CrossFit equipment, and I was manufacturing that in China. And then I didn't know anything about a barbell. So I started training with Mark, and that's when my transformation started. I started to do really hard things. I started to create a discipline. I had a choice. A lot of us, when we get to that segue in life, we've got a choice. You're kind of stable, you have your career, and then you can chill. You can hang back and let life pass you by, or you can elicit change, right? And that growth mentality. And I found for myself, and being a single mom with 2 little ones, that was the only way for me. Yeah. So I found crazy Mark Divine and that team, and we started doing like insane training. And of course, CrossFit was born right around that time as well. I was at the forefront of the CrossFit industry. And Mark, I guess he saw a little crazy in me and decided, he wanted to bring me on board to start doing the SEAL training. So I went through literally every single iteration of the SEAL training that we offer at SEALFIT. Wow. 3-week academies. I did the 50-hour Hell Week Crucible. I was the 12th woman in the world to complete that. And I was just average, you guys. I wasn't anything special. I was never a professional athlete. I did some competitive surfing, but that really doesn't transfer over to weightlifting and running, maybe endurance. And, I wanted my life to be different. And along that journey, I started managing his CrossFit gym because I had a business background, and that's what I was doing originally. And he said, manage the membership. Then I became one of the coaches, and I started to run these nutritional challenges. I'm not going to put a name on that because I know that some of these nutritional challenges work for some people and they don't for a lot of others. So we brought some people in from another company, and they held a challenge with our, 200 person membership at the time. And by the end of that reign, we had one woman who made it all the way through the challenge. And she lost, maybe 30 pounds, and she needed to. She was quite a bit overweight. And by the end of that, probably a year, she gained it all back. And, everyone kind of just bailed ship on that challenge. And I thought, my God, this can be done better. I know this can be done better. And so I wrote a program, and it was based roughly around what we'd already done. But it was a slow process where people were able to slowly eliminate foods that are considered problematic within our community at large. You know, your dairies, your sugars, right? Your glutens, even meat to some extent, which the other program did not do. So we had a slow elimination over the course of 6 weeks. I ran that through the membership. Mark said, cool, go ahead, do it, do what you want. Everyone had tremendous success. And it wasn't because they eliminated any food in particular. It was because they built great awareness around their diets, Ryan, and they understood how much, when, and what they're putting into your body. And that sounds strange. That sounds crazy, right? Like, you really don't know. Like, you kind of eat, you get food, you eat, you do it throughout the day. And most people don't have like awareness. Wow, did I really eat 3,000 calories? Yeah, you did. You know, one bag of chips, right? 400 calories or something crazy, depending on how many servings you have. So after that point, I wrote a book and Mark published it. And then we began running challenges all over the world. So from there, I was like, wow, okay, how much do I really know about nutrition? How much do I know about functional medicine? I didn't know a whole lot other than just learning from the Rob Wolfs and the Dr. Gabrielle Lyon and Ben Greenfield. These were my mentors in the field. So there's some pretty lofty mentors. So I did have a bit of a bearing on what I was doing. Went back to school. I said, this is where, this is what I love to do. This is where my life is focused and I can promote the most change within our culture, within our children, within, you know, the world. And so I got my master's in functional medicine and nutrition. And, yeah, continues to forge through, trying to help out as many folks as I can with this journey. It's not easy.
I love it. That's an inspiring story. And I want to just real quick mention something and bring light to something. The fact that you did the Kokoro 50-hour crucible for SEALFIT as a single mother. Like, I have trained for these type of events. I haven't yet attempted one because of, you know, whatever reason I justify, but the amount of time and energy it takes to be able to train for something like that while being a single mother, I can't even wrap my mind around like the consistency and the determination that you have to be able to achieve that goal, right? So first of all, I just think that's amazing. And you know, SEALFIT and Unbeatable Mind are truly unique. Mark Divine, if you're out there, you're listening, you haven't got into his work and Unbeatable Mind, like there's a foundation of everything that I teach and everything that I do comes from his work, like complete servant leader. And so, yeah, he's a fantastic human being who's doing amazing things in the world and making a huge impact. So appreciate him and you sharing your story. I would love to hear more and go down this. A couple of things really stuck out to me. Number one was this choice to do hard things, like this choice to be this catalyst of change within your own life and others' life. And it completely resonated with me when you said, you know, we kind of get to this point in life where it's like, oh, I've done it. And I hear this narrative kind of like, oh, what's the point now? Or we kind of settle into this sense of being content or comfort. And we begin to really seek more comfort than is good for us, you know, and there's a level of the brain doing that, wanting to conserve energy and those types of things. But I think we overdo it, right? We kind of hit the old cruise control and go, well, life is good. I don't want to disturb anything too much because, you know, why make things harder than they need to be? So I want to talk about that just for a moment, because my book that I wrote was Choice Point, right? And to recognize in each moment we have a choice, and there's big choices in life, but there's little choices, but the ones that really stack up to mean something and to be a catalyst for change are like the moment by moment awareness and choice, right?
100%.
So how important is this mindset to know that, like, I want something to be different. I want change. I want growth. I want to evolve. I want to be a contribution in a sense, right? Like, how important is that to be able to embody and to really hone in our nutritional track as well, right? Because all of these things kind of interplay with each other.
There's no choice. There is no choice. It presents itself, and you absolutely have. There's no two ways. There was no two roads for me. It was only. And I had a vision of other folks doing it, and I knew that it was possible, right? But if you think about someone who has like a heart attack, right? And then they have to redo their diet, there is no choice, Ryan. It is, you must, or bear the consequences of your mortality. And so for me, it was a 10 on the scale from 1 to 10. It was a 10. It was like, I don't know what that life looked like, but this is what my new life looked like. And it's going to be really uncomfortable. And my ego is going to be tested. All the things that I think I'm good at, I'm going to be doing stuff I don't know anything about. Right. So I'm going to start from square one on everything that I know and everything that I'm doing, including, you know, that mental component, right? Because that comes first. Way before you step into the gym, it has to be your mind that says, I'm putting my shoes on.
Yep.
Yeah, but you should. I'm putting my shoes on. I'm walking out the door. I don't know what the road's going to look like, but I'm going. Right. When you open your refrigerator,
you know,
there's no soda. You know, it's like vegetables. Huh?
All right.
That's very uninteresting, right? To that untrained mind.
I relate to that so well, because I remember even in the midst of the really the hardest part of my transformation, I would say, when I was kind of pulling myself out of a darker place, this experience of when I allowed for myself to go to sleep at night with, we'll see how I feel in the morning. I was maybe a coin flip of getting up when my alarm went off. But when I went to sleep, I don't care how I feel. I don't care if I sleep. I don't care what happens. That alarm goes off, my feet are hitting the floor, and just get that part out of the way. And this is a conversation that we can lead down, like visualization and all kinds of different components, and be set yourself up for success. See yourself doing the things, creating this future version of yourself that actually eats healthy and takes these steps, right? But to peel those layers back and to say, to make a choice that you are doing this for you, you're doing this for your future, for your children, for your community, whatever it is. And to say when you do that to that level, what I hear you saying is the choice is very simple, right? And they almost to the point where you don't even have one. And I love that. I love
Cellularly,
that.
we don't have a choice, Ryan. Cellularly, at the mitochondrial level, there's something called hormesis. And this is that you have to have free radicals, right? And you have to have antioxidants, and they have to work together. They have to. Without a free radical and without, that discord within your body has nothing to do, right? And so you have to have a level of discomfort at every single level of your body. It's built within us, right?
Resistance.
Resistance.
Yeah.
Right. Challenge, change. It is built into us. Mitochondria, for instance, has to have stress. So how do you grow your mitochondria? Mitochondria are, it's your powerhouse. It's your unit of energy. It's how energy is produced. It is our life source. It needs cold therapy. It needs to train hard, right? It needs stress in order to become strong. And that's exactly, the philosophy behind this at a really cellular level, is that we crave that. We strive for that. So, but it's it's that ego and it's that mindset that needs to change. Not our bodies necessarily. The bodies are ready to do that. It's just that we get scared. We have that fear come into play for one reason or another. Could it be, what are you facing right now? Could it be you don't want to, you haven't spent enough time with your family already. Now you're going to go train. What is the story that you're telling yourself?
Right. There's a story. There's always a narrative, and there's always some sort of a justification. And usually on a fundamental level, it's oh, well, I'm tired. I'm tired. Well, and that's a conundrum that we're in. We're tired because we don't want to wake up at 4 a.m. or whatever time it is that the alarm goes off. For me, that's my wake up time, or I'm tired at the end of the day, so I don't want to train. But it's actually the thing that we have to do is to push through that resistance, to be able to actually make our bodies more efficient at developing energy, creating energy, and storing energy, so we have more energy to actually, liberate our lives and to create change. Right. So
absolutely. I think people look at this as a really long term. They're I'm going to have to get up at 4 o'clock every day for the rest of my life. And they're I don't want to do that. I don't want to live that way. But what they can't see sometimes is that it's a compartment, right? I could take 6 weeks, and that's why I did the 6-week program. I can take 6 weeks and chunk off an amount of my life to reorganize my diet, to reorganize my fitness. And then I'll see where I'm at then. Okay. Maybe after 6 weeks, I eliminated meats. I'm a meat eater. I just am. I'm going to bring meat back in, but my body got a reset. I got to experience something new. Maybe I learned something about the type of meat I was eating or what that looks like. Right. And so oftentimes we get a really broad perspective. We scare ourselves with, oh my gosh, I'm never going to drink alcohol again, right? But people take breaks, and you take breaks from coffee, you take breaks from things, or you start new regimes. Maybe aerobics is not going to be your forte, Ryan. Maybe like a 6-week aerobic program isn't going to stick long-term, but, as far as agility, mobility, flexibility, it could be a great resource for you right here, right now. We don't know, so you try.
Well, it's the interesting piece. I'm going to go just a little bit down the brain science just for a moment is actually when there's a something that is undesirable or there is an agent of change, our brain will actually collapse time and make it say that like this moment is how it's going to be now forever. I'm never get to eat pizza again, or like, whatever it is, whatever that component is, this is how it's going to be, whether it's business, life, relationship. Because you're interacting with me, because you socially rejected me, that means that everybody socially rejects me, right? So you can relate this to any component of your life, being able to like open yourself up and say, I'm just gonna, try something new. I'm gonna create one change at a time. And I heard you say too, like this incremental approach where we're just making one shift at a time. So let me just back up for a moment, because we could rabbit hole really fast, and this could kind of go off the rails here a little bit. But let me ask you a question. Someone's just getting started.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, what is the one component that you would want somebody to learn or experience or to take away from your coaching, from working from the 6 weeks to cleaner eating? What is it, one thing you're like, this is the most important component to get somebody started?
Awareness.
So
I do take every client I have, and I have them do a 3-day dietary recall. I want them to know what they're eating. I want them to know exactly the water, every single thing that they're putting into their body. Okay. And this can expand out beyond 3 days. I mean, you could do a week of this, and you could get your, MyFitnessPal, or you could get your app, or just simply journal every single thing that you're putting in your body. And you have to be honest with yourself, well, it was only a bite of a, Mounds bar or whatever. Like, you have to, every single thing, because it adds up. And then you have to look at that, and you have to say, where are the holes? Wow. I always have this. Wow, we need a lot of sugar. Oh, yeah. Not me anymore, but it used to be, because I used to love sugar. Sugar was my thing, especially people who exercise. We're taught in the endurance industry, right? Freaking jelly beans, eat your goo, right? And so it's like a staple. And so it crosses into everyday life as well. So sugar awareness, just how much of what are you taking in? That's the biggest thing. Most people are surprised how much sugar they take in, and they're shocked by how little protein they take in, how much protein they need.
It makes me think about where I've now landed is this place where I intuitively eat. Like, I only eat when I'm hungry. Like today, for example, it's right now we're recording this. It's 10:45 in the morning, and I haven't eaten anything yet. And I just now realized it because I got up, got going, had my water, had a little half a cup of coffee, started working on a few things. And I'm like, I haven't been like, I'm hungry. So I haven't gone upstairs to get something to eat yet. Right.
Great for your mitochondria.
Yeah. And well, there's a whole conversation that we can have about fasting and longevity and circadian rhythms and all kinds of things, but we'll talk about those things later. Those are to come. What I want to talk about, I love this conversation about awareness. How much eating is unconscious? Like, how much eating is because it's noon, so it's lunchtime, so I grab something to eat, right? Or, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, supposedly. We've heard that, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Is it or isn't it? I don't know. It depends on what's going on with your body and what your goals are and what you did yesterday, what's coming up. So how much eating is, and I still notice myself doing this all the time. It's 4:30, it's 5 o'clock, got the kids home from school, wrapped up the day, come upstairs, all these things are going on. And it's kind of like, oh, that's when I crave chips and salsa, something to like
salty,
snacky, distract myself, kind of buffer the moment, to almost celebrate that the day is over. I know that that's, when maybe somebody might crack a beer, and how many of those things are just like conditioned into us to either eat at a certain time or have a certain thing because that's what we've always done. So therefore it becomes unconscious. Like how much?
Oh, all of it. I mean, that's why, all of it. I mean, from childhood, from being, and we created this culture, right? Because we needed to, because of farming, right? Breakfast is built from the farm industry. Okay. And so we've carried that out. Why? Because of big farm, big industry, right? Big industry, cereals, things, they want to sell food. So we support that breakfast meal, even though maybe it may or may not be conducive to our lives now, particularly as adults. Right? I mean, we are sending our children off into the field still. So I feel for kids, that's an important staple, making sure they get some food in them before they head into their classroom for thinking.
Sure.
But for us, it can look different. And so, it's conditioned from a very early age. It's conditioned what we eat, how we eat, comfort, right? Our emotional value. A lot of our emotional value is around food. What do people do when they're bummed? They either eat or they don't eat. Yeah. So there's no in between. It's like, oh, I'm just going to make myself a really nice meal when you're bummed out. Nope. You're either going to go off the rails or you're not going to eat at all.
Let me ask you, what do you mean by emotional value? I've never heard that term before.
Well, you have to determine, what your own emotional value is each day. So depending on, where you're coming from, what you're doing, right? What triggers you. So emotional value can be love. Right. So I'm in love and I want to go out to a fancy meal because that makes me feel romantic. It makes me feel engaged with my partner. And then before you know it, you just threw down 2,000 calories, right? In a bottle of wine.
It's because wine means romance.
Sure.
Love.
In our culture.
Then therefore, we're in a good, healthy place as a marriage because we're doing this thing that we have associated with love. Is it a level of like a neural association I'm hearing with food 100%. And with either being down in the dumps or celebrating, right? Having a big week and saying, hey, it's pizza night because it's Friday, right? So they're all associations, right? And
also emotional associations.
And then therefore my question would be like, for you, for me, for all of us to really question, is this really what I want?
That's right.
Is this really what I want? Or am I just doing this because I'm conditioned to do it?
Not only is it about you, but it's about everyone around you. So not only is it what you want, but what about your children? What about like having a cake, or having desserts every night? What are you teaching them? Because that's where we all came from, right? That timeline.
Yeah.
So what did your folks teach you? Tell me the worst thing that your folks gave you.
Well, I would say from the very beginning, number one, it was to finish your plate.
Okay. Yeah, of course. My grandma, she's like, finish that plate.
Oh, you'd get in trouble by my grandfather on my mom's side. Pete was his name. If you didn't finish your plate, that's somehow disrespectful to people who didn't have it. Even though now when my daughter says to me today, who's 8 years old, says, Dad, can I be done? And if they've eaten a little bit of everything and they truly are full, sure. But just so you know, like we're not coming back to the kitchen in 20 minutes, right? So you're going to have your dinner. And if it's a healthy snack later, that's one thing, but to try to build intuitive eating a little bit, like to stop when you're full, right?
Yeah.
So that would, to me, is what pops in my mind. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And do you still finish your plate? That's my question for you.
This is what I like there's this circuit that has to be.
How strong is it?
Oh my goodness, Mel. Like I can't leave it.
Neither can I.
I have to, I struggle to allow for my son's grilled cheese sandwich that has 2 bites left on it, his plate. I struggle to see that sit there because I'm just like, I probably should finish his plate. And then I look over, my daughter's got 2 bites on hers too. And I'm like, well, we call them, Dad's the garbage disposal.
There's no broccoli that survives my table.
What's that?
There's no broccoli that survives my table. They leave it on their plate. It's going in.
No, that's a whole different ballgame. Yeah, I get it. So that these things are conditioned into us.
Yeah. Well, and for instance, and this is another way, you asked about, the question is, where do we start?
Mm-hmm.
And so we recognize that awareness, like, where did I come from? Okay, I've got these standards that my family set as a kid, right? And, one of them is finish your plate. And so how would I look at that as an adult? How would I adjust that? So I get a smaller plate.
There you go.
And I always finish my plate.
There it is.
And so this is how, because some of this conditioning is bulletproof, let's just say. You can't get past it, right? And so, and what about like insulting people over food? That's another one. Like when you go to another culture, many different cultures around the world, yeah, you've got to eat with it. I don't care if it's tripe, you got cow intestines on your plate. You better finish it,
Oh, yeah.
all right. So like, and what does this look like? What does this look like for, anybody? And so most of our kids right now have parents like us. You're going to insult someone if you don't eat their food, right? My kids already know that. Like, kindly reject.
Even now you don't even eat their food. Like if you don't take seconds,
right?
What, you don't like it, right? Yeah. I love it. So to build awareness, give me a practice, give me a tool, give me something. Right? Is apps? What do you recommend? So if you were with
and so you're going to write everything down. You're going to write everything down that you're taking in 3 days, 5 days, whatever that looks like. And then you're going to go through and you're going to circle everything that you feel is a food that's good for you. And when I say good for you, I want to look at 3 different groups. I want to look at my macros. Okay. I want to see how much protein I'm eating, how much fat I'm eating, and how many carbs I'm eating. So proteins, and they all have contrary sides to them, right? There's bad proteins, your lunch meats, right? Kind of ribs and stuff like barbecue. I know I'm gonna get some controversy there, but cooking things with sweet sauce on them is bad for you. That's another conversation, right? But so you want to see what the meats, you want to see what kind of fats, and you want to see what kind of carbs, you want to divide them. So your carbs, you've got your vegetables, and you've got your rice, and you got your white foods, and you got, the easily absorbable box foods and stuff like that, pizza. And then you got your fats, you got your cheeses, you've got your nuts, oils, right? Trans fat, fried foods, blah, blah, blah. And then you have your proteins. So you want to look at that and you want to kind of compartmentalize all those and say, okay, oh, wow. And then right there, you're going to say, I'm eating a lot of fat. I'm not eating just healthy fat, but I'm eating fried foods. And so there's quite a large proportion of fat that's coming into my diet. And then you want to look at the sugars. For me, like I said, that was a big one. I went, wow, yeah, I have a sweet tooth, don't I? And then I want to look at my proteins and how is that sourced. So once you divide those from your 3 day, 5 day, then you take a look at which ones are good and which ones are not so good. Okay. And so then you've got these columns. You've moved the less quality down below, high quality up above. And now you're looking at, a tier system of what you're eating. Great awareness there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you can start to decipher, what an 80-20 approach would look like.
I was just going to prompt you on the 80-20. So I
this is step one.
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone who's brand new to nutrition, it's just starting. First, you got to know what you're eating, right? Yeah. If you're brand new to fitness, right, you have to know what you're going to do. How much do you run? Do you walk? What do you do? Okay. So you can't go from walking to running. So, the same thing with your food pyramid. Right. So then you have all, your lower quality foods on the bottom, and you start to decide, I'm not ready to give that up. My willingness to change in my diet is a 6 on a scale from 1 to 10. It is not a 10. That's where most people are. Let's be honest.
Yep.
Yeah. You definitely want to lose 30 pounds.
I actually asked that question, to what level are you willing to participate within your life today, is one of the questions I ask. And it's always fascinating to me when someone's, from a scale of 1 to 10, that's what I do. And it's like, I'm about a 6 to participate in my life. I'm like, what's going to get us to an 8? Let's get up to that 8, at least, so we can reach, another level. So yeah, keep going.
Yeah. And then what we want to do is we want to curb ourselves off some of those foods. So say you were a high fat eater, you love fat.
Yeah.
Okay. And you say you want to lose 30 pounds. Okay. So right now I'm going to steer you towards healthy fat, because I know that's the way your system's already processing, Ryan. Okay. So if I'm a person who's predominantly fat or predominantly sugar based, okay, you can't really change that overnight. First of all, your biome is going to take a hit. A couple things, if you start to starve yourself right away, then your fat cells are going to release all the toxins into your system. You're going to feel really bad. So we have to be really careful when we diet. We have to be really conscious of where we're coming from and where we're going, right? There are no like hard U-turns because that results in failure. Okay.
Right.
And so we need to have a nice, gentle slope, in my opinion. This is my opinion. Some people would say all or nothing. Some people would say cold turkey. I haven't seen it work. I've tried it. I've tried it with hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people, and it doesn't work, in my opinion. Yeah. And so we say you're a sugar, say you're like me. So what I would do is I take all those, candy bars, goos, whatever that looks like. I'd look at my protein shakes. I'd look at any kind of juice drinks I'm drinking, and I want to curb that back. So I want to take my juice drinks or my sodas or whatever that is. I want to turn those into, sparkling waters. I want to turn the juice into half and half water, half juice, right? I want to start to diminish the supply of sugar that's happening in my diet.
Yep.
If I'm sugar predominant.
Yep.
And pretty much you can't be protein predominant.
So we've hit a couple of principles of transformation that I actually have in the book Choice Point. Number one is awareness. Like without awareness, nothing can change, right? The other one is incremental shifts. And I even like to remove this word diet, because diet to me seems some sort of like a temporary thing that I'm going to do for a while, like rather than like a shift towards a different lifestyle. And, I talk to people all the time about New Year's resolutions and this idea of like, all of a sudden you're going to go from not working out at all to, 6 days a week in the gym or whatever that may look like, right? It's just not realistic that you're going to be able to maintain. And if you have a hard time maintaining consistent motivation, like how about we try to just take things off and take a bigger picture, a little bit longer view of where we want to be, and say a year from now, if I was, this feeling this way, had this much energy, had this type of body type, wearing this size of jeans, whatever it is, right? Whatever your goals are, like what impact would that make? And be able to say, now I'm going to take one step towards that, because I want it to be sustainable, because losing 20 pounds and putting it back on and losing 20 pounds that's the experience I used to have. It was from 250 to 270 or 245 to 265 and back and forth and back and forth. And then there's this level, like you said, this level of reaffirming the fact that I can't keep it off and it's going to come back on anyway. So what's the point? And I'm real healthy for a while and then back to the whatever, right? So this importance of just saying, let's just remove one thing. Let's just make this little shift. Let's just increase our exercise just a tiny bit. And this is what I consider to be a very important component of this integrated life, where I'm going to make these shifts over time, and then they're going to stick because they're who I am. Does that make sense? Yeah.
100%. And it's doable. We have to remember, like, we're fallible, right? I mean, we're going to, we're going to go to birthday parties. We're going to go to events. We're going to have moments of weakness. How great will that look? How can we negotiate with our own minds about this set point of principles we've had as a child? So, and that the easiest way is to like curb one problem at a time, right? Yep. So, and that's just the very beginning. So 80-20 that sugar intake. Yep. You want to have a candy bar twice a week? Let's negotiate. Okay, great. So instead of every day, you're going to have apples, bananas, whatever that looks like, we're going to shift that over to the healthy carb model, healthy, non-healthy carbs, right? Both sides.
Yeah.
Right.
Just so you know, Mel, when I go to birthday parties, I'm always going to have a piece of cake. That's my thing. Like I get that. And that's not me being weak. That's me saying, I love cake, but
I love cake.
Birthday parties, I'm going all in.
I feel the same, Ryan. I used to feel the same. And now I'm real picky about my cake. If it's like one of those cheap, like, I don't really like vanilla cake or white frosting. I'm not going to eat that. If it's chocolate though, pretty much that's happening. It's going
down. All right, let's make this real simple.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information that we just went through. Top 3 things to stay away from. If you were to say
soda,
somebody were to take one of these 3, they were to remove one of them. One of the pieces that I am very strong believer in is we have to create space. Like what's in the cycle of transformation I talk about is there's a choice point and then there's the void. in the moment I have a choice, I have to let go of something. I have to surrender something. I have to, whether that be a thought, a behavior, a pattern, whatever it is, like we have to remove something and replace it with something else. There has to be like a competing circuit for change to happen. Right. So what is like, no matter what, something I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to set this one thing down. You said soda is one. What's 100%. Give me two more. That.
All right. I'm going to tell you a Monster has 240 calories and 60 some grams of sugar in it. So that's energy well beyond anything that a human should have added sugar. So yeah, soda would be number one. And I would switch that out for a sparkling soda right off the bat. Sure. And I would add a lemon. And if you're really dire for some sugar in it, I would add, you know, a drop of maple syrup, like if that's where you're at, Yeah. And second, fried food. So deep fried food.
So and French fries.
French fries. Yeah. French fries. And I eat French fries. Okay. But I eat them like once every 2 months or something. Like I don't eat fried food. And so fat stays in your system for 30 days. Trans fat stays in your system for 30 days. Sugar, you drink that Monster, that's gone in a day. Right. I mean, the other biological things that happen because of that are, you know, are manifesting continually, but the freaking trans fat and the oil that you're eating your fried foods in is so horrible for you. So that includes chips.
Dang it.
Okay, I'll just put it out there. And there's a place, like I said, but it's minimal. It's very minimal. Okay. And so I would go soda, and I would go fried food, and then third, those two are such huge hitters, huh? You know, I'm not that gluten person. I'm okay if you're all right with well-sourced wheats and grains, but I would. The third thing was I would watch my intake for white foods.
White foods. Okay, so give me a list of white foods.
Rice, pasta, bread.
Okay.
And potatoes often put in there as well, but I think potatoes are great. It's a whole food, so I don't take those out. If you were struggling with your weight, it would be something I might recommend. You take out a potato, but yeah, white foods, rice, bread. And it's not because of the gluten. It's because of the easily absorbable sugar content of those items.
It's like eating a candy bar.
It's like eating a candy bar, right? Yeah. And so, right, our insulin system, our glucose system is all dependent on those white foods. So it behaves like a sugar.
Yeah. Yeah. That's excellent.
It is a sugar.
Yeah. So this is a great place for us to start, is having awareness, making small incremental shifts, just knowing that we have choice, like, and then we don't, right? Once we know we want something different, we want to grow, we want to be healthier. And, you know, as a leader, as a parent, like it's my responsibility to take control of my own nutrition, to set up these habits and behaviors for my environment, right? For my children, for whoever else. That's like right. We have to model. If we want them to be healthy versions of themselves, would that be physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever it may be, spiritually, these things have to be modeled first by us, right? And it has to come.
That's how we got here, right?
That's right.
And that's how a third of the world that's now pre-diabetic got there.
That's right.
It's from their mom and dad. Yeah. I'm not pointing fingers, but it's true. And I'm not perfect. My kids eat sugar.
Oh, we're not even close. I'm not saying about perfection, but I'm saying about progress.
Right.
This is what I'm, you know, we have pizza night in our homes, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We love to get a movie on a Saturday night and get some Sour Patch Kids. I'm not going to lie. Love me some Sour Patch Kids, and some nachos once in a while and doing those things. But it's the 80-20 is lived. And if it's lived where 80% of the time you're on point, then you can unleash 20% of the time and enjoy. And right. I mean, that's no different than working versus rest. Like there's a balance in everything. And to say that I'm just going to go down a rabbit hole and cut out everything, and it's not going to be sustainable. And you're going to come back and go down a trap of everything coming back on and cravings being so much that you end up emotionally eating and all kinds of different things like that. Because I've been down these roads. I mean, I'm somebody who struggled with all these different components and then went too far one way and back the other, and had food allergies and all the above. I've been
it all compounded. That's why the food allergies. Oftentimes people become allergic to food because all of the contrary things they're putting in, the lack of sleep, lack of exercise, all of that compounds. And then your body goes, you know what? I don't like that food anymore. I'm going to start to fight that in my body. And that's how autoimmune is generated as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mel, you're going to come back around multiple times. We're going to have different conversations. We're going to dive deeper into macros. We're going to dive deeper into circadian rhythms and sleep hygiene and all kinds of fun things, physical. We're going to talk about physical movement and training, and we're going to talk about all kinds of fun stuff in the future. But this has been a great starter for now. I want to hear from you. What is new and different and coming in your life right now? What's up front?
Well, my life's purpose and passion is to elicit health and happiness and reduce as much suffering as I can. Unnecessary suffering.
Unnecessary stuff. We have the same mission, you and I love it. That's why we're here. That's why we're tuning.
Right. And part of that is to help the children, because they're the new source coming into our lives that are going to change for their children and their children. And so I created a 4-week kids food fight challenge for kids. And so and I just want to point out, we'll talk more about that in another episode, but the foundation of this program is not to tell kids what not to eat, although there's some strong suggestions among the program and among some of the villains and characters involved in the storyline of that program. The main component is to get kids to eat vegetables. And this has been a strong point of my parenting since the very beginning, was how do I get my kids to eat the carrots? How do I get them to eat the cucumbers? How do I get them to eat salad? And so that is what this program is dedicated to. It's dedicated to helping parents and kids identify with fruits and vegetables in a fun and experimental way.
Wow.
Boom.
How do we find it? How do we engage in this? How do I get my kids to eat vegetables? And you do
Medmel.com. We actually just ran a beta test. And so the beta test is ending in the next week. I will start the first official challenge in September. So it's meant to piggyback into the school so that kids can, because this is where we really have control over what our kids are eating is, we're sending off to school and we can help them in the environment with their friends. They can influence their friends. All of this community of involvement is important to what we're doing. So it will start in September, October. It's going to run through October. It's going to end right before Halloween. So don't worry. You can still have a few candy bars with you.
That's awesome. And what was the Medmel? It's MEDMEL.com. Is that correct?
That's right. Right.
Excellent.
Functional Medicine Mel, but medmel.com. We'll get you there.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mel. And we're excited to have you a part of our team and continue to learn from you every single time we talk. I'm just like, I did not know that. And it's just so important for me to keep hearing these things too, because I'm on the path. I'm on the path of trying to become someone who's legitimately, mastering oneself and to be able to serve. And the importance of having awareness around what's going in our body, because everything that goes in, like this is whether you're talking about screen time, news, media, relationships, circle of influence, everything that goes in has to come back out. And it's either raising our vibration and making it life more abundant and more joyful and more peaceful and more purposeful, or it's not. And there comes down our conversation full circle to say that there is no choice.
There is no choice. And everyone's watching you. I mean, you're watching you, but your family's watching you, your culture's watching you, your community's watching you. People are watching you all the time, right? And they want to be healthy. So they're looking to you as a guide.
So be that guide.
Yeah.
Be the guide.
Be that guide, for at least for your kids, at least, at the very least.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mel. And we'll see you again soon. And good luck with everything you have coming up.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Okay. You're amazing. Thank you for the work you're doing in the world. Love you.
We're going to keep pushing. Bye-bye.